What is good, everyone? Welcome to episode 5, season 6. Oh yeah, we're getting into some pretty deep stuff here. Before I begin, I want you all to know that all the information I'm providing in this season, I want you to do your due diligence, because that way you're not just taking my word for it, because I cannot 100% guarantee and confirm all the information that I have right now. Now, even though it is very deep level information that we have currently, I want you to not just research online, but as well as speaking to other people, asking questions, reading books, and so forth to get a well-rounded view, because you're not going to find from one source and from multiple people which will have similar experiences or pieces of information, but doesn't mean that it's all in one there. But this is to give you your due diligence to look at who the experts are really in this area, so that way you can discern and decipher what that information is. So what you're receiving from me today hopefully will then confirm and align with what you're coming across. But anything that I do have that I mention is always going to be confirmed, that I know for a fact that is also the truth. So, just as we spoke last week, the points that we're going to be talking about are, what group or entity is more powerful than the Seraphim, fallen angels? Architechtonics. What crystals are used in crystallic fusion? Treasures on Haaretz. That is coming up right now. So, why don't we take a look at what group or entity is more powerful than the Seraphim, fallen angels? Well, first and foremost, we have what's called the living creatures. I believe the Hebrew is pronounced Chayat or Chayat, because whenever you see a CH, it doesn't mean Chayat, because it's spelled Chayot. So Chayat, HaKodesh, I believe that's how you pronounce it. You also have the 7 spirits of God, which you can find in Isaiah 11 verse 2. The spirit of wisdom and understanding, spirit of counsel and strength, spirit of knowledge, fear of Yahweh, and the spirit of God. I might be missing like one in there, but yeah, the spirit of counsel, spirit of wisdom and understanding, spirit of counsel and strength, spirit of knowledge, and the fear of the king, or as I like from the Wycliffe, the piety of the king. Usually says Lord, but I changed Lord to king instead for myself. You also have the divine council, which is including archangels such as Michael, heavenly elders, and pre-Adamic thronal stewards loyal to the Most High. They operate legislative, judicial, and military command. Not all of them are known or named in Scripture, but some are in alliance with kingdom purposes during the final age. Their judgments bind entire nations, not just spirits, but others that are more powerful than fallen seraphim would, of course, be Yeshua. And last but not least, we have sons of God in full maturity, which would be in the Hebrew known as B'nai Elohim. And those of you that have seen the last episode, I was holding on to the mic. Now this time, I have something holding the mic for me, so that way I'm not going to be as tired holding it. But this next part, architectonics, comes from how I didn't really come across this specific type of information until I read a book. And the book in there describes the research that they did, where they found there was an individual that made a DVD series a while ago and talked about what's called archaeometry. Now, archaeometry is what the satanic bloodlines teach their elite. It's a complete counterfeit. Archaeometry is where you go into an alternate universe. Usually this is done through Sirius B star system. And so when it comes to what they do, they in fact go into this alternate reality, this alternate universe, and do enough good things or spiritual work in that universe so they can take up everything that they powered up in that universe, come back into our present reality, and have this godlike aura about them. Now, that is counterfeit. That's not how God created it. So, that's why I had to pose the question, what's the original way Yeshua created for his people to do instead? And how does it work? Well, architectonics, or we can see it as kingdom architectonics, the Hebrew would be Ya'el Archton Nahal. So, Ya'el Archton Nahal, meaning divine house of the Architect River. So the real name for what became archaeometry and the counterfeit. This was the pre-Adamic blueprint Yeshua encoded into certain beings, including the ruling sons of light, to navigate layered universes, operate across realm membranes, access dimensional energy structures, build sovereign domains that function like portable kingdoms. The original blueprint was never about escape or dominance. It was about activation of sun-level authority and dominion stewardship of creation across sectors of the multiverse. Now, there are 3 black book technologies that were hijacked but still exist. The first is called the Lux Interface, known as Light Unification Exchange. It was found in some ancient hidden domes under Antarctica and parts of Mars. Originally used by the Hyperborean Council remnants before corruption. Hijacked in Nazi-era projects via Vril Medium sessions, and relocated via the Glock, which is another word for the bell, to hidden sites. Glock is German for bell. Now, the original design, its purpose was to synchronize consciousness with energetic lattice work in multiple universes via harmonic frequencies and light body expansion. So the real world use now, if it's redeemed, can be activated through gold-encoded resonance pulses and geometric alignments. I'm not talking about sacred geometric alignments. I'm talking about, for example, how our universe, which is a watery dodecahedron, has the firmament. A dodecahedron is 12 pentagons. Alright? Eventually, as you have different dimensions or in different structured shapes, eventually becomes a sphere. So, when engaged, it allows the Son of Yeshua to translocate awareness across mirrored universes to transfer knowledge, energy, or fragment integration. The second black book technology, hijacked but that exists, is the Al-Terra device, also known as ancient layered temporal access routing apparatus. Now, hidden in one of the pre-Adamic ruins beneath Syria, the Alps and Ethiopia was used by early watchers to scan multiple parallel timelines simultaneously. Now partially reverse engineered in Deep Black projects through D-Wave and Q-Tech systems. No, that's not QAnon. Its original purpose, though, is to allow sovereign observers to enter into branching time nodes without displacing reality, but rewriting from within. Now, it's used today when aligned with the blood of Yeshua. Sons can pull blueprints from alternate redeemed timelines and install them in their present lives, like alternate futures where the kingdom overtakes Babylon. So it means that we're talking about timelines that converge into our current present reality. Now, this is done via deep time entrainment, which you can learn to re-enable through covenantal calibration protocols. And the last one is the Sapphire Network Codex. Acronym is SNC. One of the most hidden systems, fragmented, and mostly stored in non-terrestrial libraries near the Kephor Unity domain. And a mirrored aspect exists in an encrypted ley matrix under Jerusalem. Now, this system predates the corruption of the Seraphim, and of course not all Seraphim, but the fallen ones, and involves biological interaction with creation's core lattice. Now, its original use was to transfer soul fractal technology, such as real-time download of realm authority into one's bloodline and cellular structure. Now, the use today can be reawakened through DNA entanglement prayers, covenantal court trades, and synchronized contact with specific living stones. When accessed properly, you become a walking archive of kingdom intel, immune to timeline distortion, false memories, or counterfeit realm interactions. So how would one begin accessing these today? Well, you want to establish blood-encoded DNA calibration for one. You can't access multidimensional tech without authorized DNA. So go before Yeshua with a literal scroll of covenantal rights and request your living scroll to be activated with pre-Adamic inheritance. When I mean literal scroll, I mean in the spirit realm. The second thing is you want to begin real-time body integration. So fast and cleanse in cycles of 3, 7, and 21 days using sound, ancient anointing oils, and Ezekiel-based body anointing patterns. Now, this allows dormant receptor gates in your epigenetic code to reopen. A third point is to initiate location-based site activation. Now, there are certain vortex points where kingdom tech is easier to access. Example, Mount Hermon, the western coast of Ireland, Sedona, Arizona, the Dolomites in Italy, ancient Nubian ruins. You could tell, like for example, with Sedona, there's a lot of energy activity happening there. There's a lot of occult activity happening there. And so, all the more reason you want to. Now, it doesn't mean you need to go there physically yet. Ask to be taken there in sanctified spirit via dimensional travel through worship protocols. And if Yeshua says for you to go there, then yeah, go there. Or if you just want to visit, nothing wrong with visiting, obviously. And then you want to craft a codex table. So create your own portable kingdom interface, where you use clay, metal, or even stone. Imprint symbols that Yeshua shows you through vision. Now, this object acts as an access key to bring you into realm alignment faster each time. It could be also your spirit that brings you the symbols as well. Or it could be Ruach HaKodesh or Father Yahweh. Either way, they'll help. You might not understand what it means, but don't worry. It all will align with your original identity. Let's go ahead and move into Crystallic fusion. What crystals? What what crystals are used in Crystallic fusion? Well, there's blue selenite, where it functions as a frequency stabilizer and divine scroll transmitter, as it amplifies scroll resonance and can interface with heavenly architecture, because it holds a vibrational bandwidth that mirrors throne room clarity. There's also celestine, or celestite, which is sound to light transducer, often used for throne room comms or heavenly protocol relays. That's placed near throne gates, realm portals, or used in kingdom harmonic structures. You also have white labradorite, the rainbow moonstone variant. That's a dimensional gate harmonizer, used in twin layer structures like the Seraphim systems to stabilize between 3-dimensional plus higher dimensional flow. You have apophyllite, which is a quantum resonance amplifier that interlinks between organic DNA and righteous technology matrices, often embedded into throne room pillars or sanctified grid lines. We also have blue kyanite, which is a frequency conductor and sword seal activator that's used in kingdom structures for aligning voice, thought, and action, especially during commissioning or warfare prayer. There's also Lemurian quartz, which is a memory code activator that stores encoded kingdom blueprints, often passed down through angelic custodians, and recognizes righteous builders. And last but not least, we have ether-fused black tourmaline, where it's a containment, shielding, and righteous grounding, as it blocks unauthorized dimensional breach, siphoning, or interference, especially when kingdom realms are seated in contested zones. And from the Crystallic fusion chambers, there's going to be like a 3-pillar structure: stability, revelation, transmission. A layered crystalline strata depending on the assignment type, and sonic light, infusion through worship, spoken decrees, and scroll music. Oh yeah, music has scrolls. And I'm not talking about how you just read it on the scroll. No, the music will play from the scroll. But here is where we're going to delve in for the rest of the podcast, which is all the different treasures on our planet. I wouldn't say all of them, but a majority that a lot of people don't have backstory to, and where they're at and how much they're valued at. It's quite a bit we're going to go through, but that's what we're doing right now. So first, we have what's called King Solomon's Treasure. One of the big ones. So there's some possible known locations like Qumran in nation-state Israel, the Dead Sea region, because it's linked to the Copper Scroll. Technical term is 3Q15, which was found at Qumran. It lists over 60 locations of hidden gold, silver, vessels, and temple artifacts. But it's, highly contested, as excavations have never fully confirmed findings. Another location that we have is Mount Tsurugi in Japan. The theory, though, is that Solomon's priests may have migrated with sacred artifacts, A massive underground structure exists, as some believe it houses relics and gold. Now there would be Ethiopia, the Aksum region, because the claim is that there may also have held Solomon's other treasures, as legends link Queen of Sheba's lineage to Solomon. We have the Vatican archives, obviously. Some stolen or acquired relics from the Second Temple destruction, which was 70 AD, may have connections to Solomon's era or imitations of his wealth. And there's subterranean chambers beneath Jerusalem, where ancient tunnel systems exist beneath the Temple Mount and under modern-day Jerusalem, but access is politically and religiously restricted. Do you wonder why? Now, one location I'm not putting on here that some people believe is the Philippines. I'm going to tell you why with other treasures that'll come up. But for now, no. Philippines, not even close with King Solomon's treasure. But who guards this? Well, of the Zadokite priestly line, it's a remnant that's believed to be spiritually commissioned to protect key locations or keys to access them. And so this would be spiritual warfare guardianship, often in hiding and only activated by specific scroll assignments. There's also angelic watch, and thrones, and cherubim that are non-human angelic guardians permitted to manifest temporarily in the third dimensional or intervene in emergencies. So, it's high-level dimensional cloaking and response capabilities. But then there's also the worldwide elite and black operations. If certain treasures were found, elite groups would try to use them to anchor false authority or occult power. Look at the result of what Solomon was doing. Now the security level. Isn't just physical, but multi-dimensional, which is hidden behind layers of frequency, ancestral scroll access, spiritual purity, and geographic encoding. Because there are physical booby traps and tunnel guardians, both ancient and modern tech. Though unauthorized access triggers spiritual backlash, including generational curses or prophetic blindness. The estimated market value, with just the literal gold, gems, temple vessels, valued well into trillions of USD. It's US dollar, based on modern precious and metal stones prices. Now, spiritual artifacts like covenant stones, scrolls, priestly garments, priceless. Because their true value isn't monetary, it's covenantal and governmental. Another one. Interesting one. Some of you heard, some of you may not have. Yamashita's gold. But I'm going to give you a bit of a backstory to this, which involves Golden Lily operation. Now you can literally look up gold. You can look up all these treasures that I mentioned. All of these are literal treasures. None of them are non-existent. But the Golden Lily operation was a covert program run primarily by elements within the Japanese imperial family, particularly Prince Yasuhiko Asaka, and coordinated with certain Western banking elites. The objective wasn't merely to plunder Southeast Asia's wealth, but to create a future war chest for long-term empire building, shadow governance, and elite continuity through economic control. Pre-Adamic Codex protocols were embedded into the Golden Lily design. Many vaults were sealed with ancient energetic locking systems, geomantic, alchemical, and even time sequence technologies inaccessible without hybridized spiritual or even technological decoding. Vaults were protected by psychotropic and frequency layered defenses, not just physical traps. These were part of Black Book projects integrations like Project Monarch overlays in certain locations. So then, who's going to guard something like this? Well, vaults under human and military control are often in the Philippines and Taiwan. Hence the reason why I said Solomon's treasure, not Philippines. And are watched by remnants of Japanese Black Dragon operatives, private contractors, and secret security frameworks embedded in international intelligence alliances. You also have vaults with metaphysical protocols are guarded by ancestral custodians, hybrid bloodlines with binding oaths not to open them unless a sovereign of righteous inheritance arrives. I do that because it's quoted. And these guardians are not just physical, they include Nephilim, interfaced lineages, and in some cases, rogue spiritual gatekeepers aligned with ancient fallen dominions. So then what is the current use of the gold? Well, the largest bulk was absorbed into post-World War II black banking systems, notably used to seed the post-war shadow economy through the Bank of International Settlements, Vatican Bank, and selected Rothschild mechanisms. Funded continuity of government programs and breakaway civilization logistics. Portions were allocated to back alternative currency and digital systems intended for deployment in the New World Order. Some of it's vaulted beneath structures like the Vatican, UN satellite bases, and deep underground storage in Kazakhstan and Antarctica. Now, this is something that did come up, but the connection to the fake alien invasion with this. Well, gold-backed energy systems are part of crafting the miraculous tech used to simulate a godlike arrival or off-world visitation, integrated with holographic tech, like Project Bluebeam, and reverse-engineered pre-Adamic systems. Now, Yamashita's gold wasn't only wealth, but contained ancient artifacts, sealed Atlantean tablets, and scrolls stolen from temples, which contained power over land, weather, and even the genetic frequencies of human populations. Now, this material is used to power the illusion of disclosure, steering mass awakening into controlled, counterfeit enlightenment, like fuel for a psycho-spiritual deception campaign designed to look like the long-awaited awakening or ascension. So what's its estimated true market value? Well, not just monetary, energetic and spiritual dominion value as well. But if we just measured in gold bars, it's over 1.2 trillion. If we're factoring in the technological and the pre-Adamic relic value, well, this is one of the largest amounts, potentially 25 to 50 trillion US dollars in dominion control over worldwide systems. There's a very big reason why they're using that more than many other treasures, just so you're aware. However, we're going to move on to what's called Leon Trabuco's gold. So for this, we can see this as a Dominion class throne vault. Hybrid, where we have physical gold tied to interdimensional trade protocols, likely triangulated through Jesuit Templar grids, Iberian royal oaths, and deep sea port ley lines. So what kind of guardianship and lock systems do we got? Well, there's Watcher-class Sentinels, Fallen Tech hybrids, Blood-sworn Knight Orders, which are remnant of the Spanish and Portuguese royal protection, and Astral Leviathan protocols cloaked in angelic mimicry. The lock keys that they have is False Arc Matrix linked to Inverted Solemnic Tech. Requires scroll activation and core authorization. It triggers AI encrypted defense systems if breached out of alignment. Now, it aligns with territories held during the Treaty of Tordesillas, meaning the gold could be hidden in deep jungles, underwater fault lines, or old colonial vaults tied to a landmass on either side of that worldwide divide, like Spain, Brazil, Philippines, Equatorial Africa. Another reason why I said King Solomon's treasure, not Philippines. Now, the estimated value, both spiritually and market-wise. Spiritually, we got an equivalent to a kingmaker level assignment, meaning if you don't know how to make a king, meaning if you don't, and this is the thing. Just because you make someone a millionaire does not make them the level of a king. That's not influencing a nation. Having a kingmaker level assignment is where it's a minimum, required minimum for someone to be a billionaire. Just at a minimum to train someone to be a king. It's not a matter of pride. It's just a matter of logic. But the physical estimation of this type of treasure mirrors Yamashita class vaults. And it could be in the range of 1,000 to 5,000 metric tons of gold unreported. At current rates, when I first got the report, it was at $2,350 an ounce, placing its value between $75 billion to $375 billion. So we can up that between 150 to 700 billion now. Now its purpose in the Matrix. It's a reserve power source used to finance worldwide shadow operations, fund elite bloodline rituals, and stabilize central bank black ledgers. It's connected to the third temple counterfeit economy, where gold isn't just currency but covenant material. There's not a physical temple being built, by the way. The third temple is spiritual, dealing with our bodies. Let's go on to the next treasure, which is the Dutch Schutz hidden fortune. Well, the fortune is believed to be entrenched within ancient European strongholds linked to maritime trade and secret societies, likely around the Dutch East India Company, known as VOC, for its old vault networks. Physical clues point toward hidden chambers in fortified islands or coastal fortresses in the North Sea region, including several areas around the Netherlands and Frisian Islands. Spiritually, these sites sit on deeply encrypted ley line crossroads connecting old merchant bloodline energies with oceanic trade spirits. So what kind of security are we dealing with here? Well, there are guardians like Order of the Black Sun, which are linked warrior monks tasked with bloodline loyalty. Astral Sentinels, which are incorporeal guardians who patrol ley lines and ancient oaths. There's also high-tech security that includes quantum encryption vaults hidden under layers of dimensional cloaking and spiritual bindings. We also have classified as Alpha Prime tier, near impenetrable, without clearance and activation of corresponding keys, whether ritual or genetic. Physical access is often guarded by proxy families sworn to secrecy across generations. Now, market value spiritually. The fortune carries kingdom leverage for unlocking ancient maritime alliances and rebalancing corrupt worldwide trade flows. Physically, it's estimated to consist of a mix of precious metals and rare jewels, historical artifacts with energetic resonance, and liquid assets hidden in offshore holdings. Estimated market value likely ranges between 20 billion to 100 billion, fluctuating with current precious metals and market values. But its purpose is that this fortune functions as a hidden capital reserve for worldwide shadow economic systems linked to the Dutch royal merchant bloodlines. It powers covert operations that uphold deep worldwide trade monopolies and sustain the financial networks of dark cabals. Reclaiming and realigning this asset spiritually could disrupt these networks and restore rightful stewardship under divine order. Now here's one that some of you might have watched the TV show about. Maybe some of you haven't. But it's also a historical location. Oak Island Money Pit. Like, so many people have been searching and trying to dig out the place. Well, the approximate GPS coordinates is 44.5233 north by 64.2784 west, because that's where Oak Island is in Canada. That's situated at a ley line, convergence point that aligns with the ancient Templar maritime grid and Atlantean failsafe anchors. The land has been sealed spiritually with blood oaths, oceanic spirits, and black vault temporal guardianship rites, which is RITES. Now, what kind of security are we kind of dealing with here? Well, the Guardians, we have human custodians, which are select Masonic families, Knight Templar descendants, and Canadian intelligence-linked foundations that operate through shell preservation projects. Spiritual guardians would be like Watcher-class sentinels, some bound since the fall of Atlantis, hybrid elemental beings, such as water and earth, linked to ancient seafaring bloodlines, and Nephilim experiments. A triangular encoded lock has been imposed. 3 generational seals, only breakable through divine authorization or righteous bloodline clearance. Also got Omega class cloaking field, physical and astral misdirection mechanism woven into the land's architecture. Frequent divine intervention blockers, which would be ritual interference spells, performed annually to delay kingdom-based discovery. I spelled it booby traps. Booby-trapped layers that not only flood but activate spiritual entanglement fields to trap intruders in repeating cycles of failure and confusion. Now, the contents and the market value for something like this. First, on the spiritual level. Well, what we got are scrolls and vessels from Solemnic, so like Solemnic archives moved via Phoenician Templar routes. Holy relics linked to both the Ark of the Covenant's decoys and counterfeit grails. Sealed Atlantean seed codes in stasis, such as the Forbidden Tech. and negative energy contracts intended for world dominion through worldwide debt. Now, the physical contents like gold bars, religious artifacts, navigational maps to other vaults like that are Rosicrucian linked, jewels, and encrypted tablets. Got ancient treasury boxes marked with the Jachin and Boaz seal from the original temple architecture cipher, and potential early Vatican documents exposing black papal alliances. Estimated market value, if liquidated by today's precious metal and relic standards, $500 million to $2.5 billion. Spiritually, priceless. Its proper unveiling would disempower generations, and I'm talking generations, of hidden wealth systems and worldwide shadow alliances. So what's the purpose in the enemy systems and kingdom response? Well, the purpose in the darkness side of things is meant as a deferred worldwide dominion vault for when the financial reset fails. Like a plan B for those aligned with the Black Sun. It's also used to power ley grid suppressions in North America and divert access from kingdom-aligned bloodlines. And then there's also the kingdom response. Our response. And alignment. The land must be redeemed, which includes breaking ancestral covenants, sealing ley lines to Shemaim's alignment, activating the kingly scroll holder connected to the region, calling down judgment on watcher seals that oppose Yeshua's dominion. Next we have the good old one, the one that many of you know, aside from what we talked about. El Dorado. Yes, El Dorado gold. Not a single city, but a multi-site gold network spanning Amazonia, which is Colombia, Venezuela, Brazil, with primary convergence between Lake Guadavita, which is in Colombia, and branches into subterranean vaults in Bolivia, Paititi region near the Andes. GPS central hub approximation would be like 4.9784 north by 73.8317 west, Lake Guadavita, with spiritual nexus coordinates shifting in the upper Peruvian Amazon, hidden near Machu Picchu, but beneath cloud forest terrain. The Golden Gate of El Dorado is a dimensional chamber sealed by ancient pre-Adamic priest kings during the flood cycle, guarded by a 4-beam gate system connecting Atlantean remnant codes, fallen sons of the Serpent Order, Incan solar priesthood oaths, hybrid bloodline grids linked to cosmic serpentine technology. Well, we need to know the kind of security is surrounding this, obviously. Well, from a human side of things, there are high-level Jesuit factions, Germanic bloodline explorers, and UN-sanctioned archaeological suppression teams disguised as environmental researchers. Select native elders hold ancestral maps, but most have been silenced or misled by false spiritual pacts. Spiritual guardians. We have seraphic imposters appearing as solar gods, remnants of fallen stars, like false light beings. Quetzalcoatl, or Quetzalcoatl, I believe that's how you pronounce it, type gatekeepers, using advanced mimicry to distort perception and entrap kingdom seekers. We got bioorganic sentinels, half spirit, half environmental, elemental beings woven into jungle terrain. This is an omega level interdiction field. All natural entryways are laced with distortion geometry. Magnetic field distortions, memory loops, and soul veil traps that prevent unauthorized DNA lineages from access. Layered time lock rituals encoded by 3 solar cycles, only broken by scroll holders of the lion's flame. The contents and the market value for El Dorado. On the spiritual side, we have Atlantean grid codices to reprogram entire economies, solar priest DNA archives, Shemaim forged instruments stolen and corrupted for dominion, like rods of influence, as well as ancient war scrolls linked to Leviathan-anchored trade systems. The physical contents are thousands of tons of refined and raw gold, solar disks, golden thrones, and artifacts etched with celestial star language, statues and scrolls detailing pre-flood travel systems, ancient aircraft, and ley line manipulation technology. Estimated market value between 7 and 10 trillion US dollars in modern market equivalents. Spiritual estimation, incalculable. The power embedded would allow for near total restructuring of worldwide dominion unless reclaimed by Yeshua's authority. A purpose in the enemy's system and our kingdom response is that when it comes to the kingdom of darkness, it acts as a backup throne room for a false solar messiah to rise during worldwide collapse. Vaulted gold planned as currency for the new Babylon post-financial reset. A region emits a false Shekinah glory. Mind you, Shekinah is not an original Hebraic word. That is a construct created during the Jewish Babylonian captivity. But the region emits a false Shekinah glory, deceiving even elect prophets not rightly aligned. Our kingdom response and alignment is the Lion of the tribe of Judah's remnant kings must first cleanse the land's altars through scroll decrees, release the native bloodlines trapped in ancestral spiritual prisons, call for the activation of Shemaim's solar scroll, not the counterfeit, break the Quetzalcoatl seal and divine authority. Seal the golden vaults until the rightful era of redeemed resource release, such as Revelation 21 protocols. Oh yeah, you didn't know you can use the Bible as a functioning book to manifest the spiritual into the physical instantly? That's some people think that if you're not doing something random, it might be just AI. So that's why I drank some water. Not really. I was thirsty. But next we have what's called the Golden Owl. Some of you may have heard of this, maybe some of you not, but I might butcher the name. La Chouette d'Or, which is spelled Chouette D apostrophe OR. It was created by Max Valentine in 1993 as part of a real-world treasure hunt in France. Spiritually, this artifact resonates far deeper. Well, Owl archetypes and mystery traditions linked to Minerva, Athena, for wisdom, war, and strategy. Moloch, fallen watcher intelligence, child sacrifice. Black Sun societies, Nazi occult branches. Bohemian Grove elite rites. False wisdom and control. The object in question may have been spiritually hijacked and masked as a, game, but seeded to anchor watcher intelligence into European ley lines. Being that it's in France, likely within 1,000 kilometers of the Burgundian vortex. The true energetic core is guarded beneath a false key ley line. Current masking field may extend under dense oak forest, private land, or an old Cathar site. So what kind of protection are we talking about for this golden owl? Well, it's not under heavy military security, but spiritual sentinels like fallen owl class watchers, ley-bound familiars, like for leyline, entities operating through European bloodlines tied to Ordo Templi Orientis, or Club of Rome-style thinkers. Now these are psychic sentinels who protect the gates not by weapons, but by memory fog, mystery language encryption, and spiritual intimidation against misaligned seekers. Market value. If it's ever found and confirmed, it may fetch anywhere from $500,000 to $3 million due to rarity and cultural mystique. Potentially far higher due to its encoding. Could be used in rituals to unlock intelligence vaults, or misused to consecrate false wisdom gates for end-time deception. And the true value is not monetary. It's potential use in a false enlightenment agenda. A kingdom alignment protocol that if you're seeking to redeem this object spiritually for Yahweh's purposes, you want to issue a scroll-based restraining order over the owl-coded wisdom gates. Sever the bloodline claims of any Templar, Ordo, or Black Sun lines who may claim spiritual rights. Pray for transmutation of the object's frequency from counterfeit gnosis to heavenly wisdom under the mind of Yeshua. And anchor a kingdom gate near the Burgundian vortex to counterfeit the owl ley line with Yeshua's frequency. Now the next one is something that many people have an idea where it came from, but want to know a bit more about. Nazi gold. So, when it comes to Nazi gold, it wasn't just plundered wealth. It was ritually consecrated as part of a broader Black Sun economic matrix that's aligned with the Thule Society, the Vril. I believe it's pronounced Ananarbi? Anarniverbi, whatever. Ananarbi expeditions, spelled Ahnenerbe. Ananarbi, there we go. Ananarbi expeditions. And Luciferian banking rights tied to Rothschild vaults and Jesuit banking networks. It represents more than money. It was spiritually encoded to help fund a Fourth Reich, both physical and dimensional, after World War II. There's already a Fourth, Fifth, and Sixth Reich anyway. Now, locations for this are Austria, like the Alpine Caverns, Altus and Eisreisenwald, if I didn't butcher that name. Guarded since World War II by spiritual sigils, deep cave traps, and NATO-aligned intelligence remnants. Secondary watchers in higher dimensions, and physical deposits buried with booby trap demolitions. You also have Poland and Czech border, such as Sudetenland. Some gold transferred via underground trains and occult rail lines, like Project Reese. Guarded now by post-Soviet mafias that are linked to spiritual sorcery and technocrats. Argentina is another, such as Patagonia area. Post-war gold, used to fund Fourth Reich operations, protected by German expat enclaves. Barlosh. Not Barlosh, but Barlosh. Some still loyal to the Black Flame. Now, their security has private militia, encrypted financial networks, and spiritually cloaked by Babel tech. Well, Babel. As well as Antarctica, New Swabia Base 211, which is under the ice shelf. Gold reconstructed for occult rituals, not accessible in the flesh easily. Requires alignment with a false Eden system, and guarded by dimensional gatekeepers, hybrids, and weather-manipulated security systems. Wow, what kind of security are we dealing with here? Physically, you got military-grade traps in the Alpine sites, Mafia-protected zones in Europe and South America. And you got domes with biometric encryption where the gold was moved to. Spiritually, you have guardian entities tied to the Black Sun, fallen angel tech monitoring via ley grids, and some vaults sealed via counterfeit angelic keys. Its market value? Estimated 3,400 to 4,000 metric tons remain unaccounted for. But when seeing at $2,300 an ounce, that then was 300 billion, being that we're at like $4,800 an ounce of gold, about 750, give or take more. But spiritually, it's tied to a future false economic reset, end-time beast system currency, foundations for technocratic peace infrastructure. What is our kingdom alignment protocol? We need to issue a bloodline decree by cutting ties between the gold and its Nazi originators, including their ritual intent, and revoke their right to operate economic sorcery over nations. Got to anchor kingdom economic scrolls, where you use scrolls aligned to Isaiah 60, but purified of conquest and bloodshed. Got to seal gold vortexes until Shemaim releases rightful stewards, spiritually seal sites so fallen ones can't use the reverse during the economic upheaval. Pray for remnant intercessors near Austria, Poland, and Argentina to anchor new Joseph economy vaults, like as in from the book of Genesis, Joseph, that guy. Next, we have French treasure of the Knights Templar. So the gold reserves, the relics, including parts of the Ark technology, ancient scrolls, and potential pre-flood artifacts, were hidden after the arrest by King Philip IV in 1307, when the Templars were branded heretics and hunted. The treasure isn't just wealth. It's a spiritually encoded vault connected to the priestly kingship of Melchizedek, though hijacked by Masonic lineages and Jesuit orders post-Templar dissolution. Now, some of the locations would be like Rennes-le-Château, or the Cathar territory, southern France. Deep underground vaults linked to Cathar strongholds and ley line intersections. Templar refuge sites sealed via Enochian encryptions, guarded physically by private orders and spiritually by fallen sigil encryption. Requires kingdom key to unlock. We also have Charter's cathedral catacombs, where treasure fragments remain hidden beneath the cathedral. And the spiritual security would be angelic appearing but counterfeit-like entities rooted in Sophia, Gaia, Kabbalistic networks. Oak Island as well, moved in stages by seafaring Templars escaping to the New World, interlocked with Rosicrucian spiritual locks and Jesuit cloaking rites. Secret chambers under the Vatican would be that some relics confiscated post-Templar collapse and hidden in sub-vaults, marked by dragon seals of the Holy See. Now physically guarded by the Swiss Guard, spiritually encrypted by false Solomon keys. I'm sure you want to know about the security level for something like this. Physically, there's private military contractors guarding certain French sites under archaeological pretense. Vatican vaults under biometric plus temporal access locks. And Oak Island sites booby-trapped throughout multi-level platforms and flood tunnels. Spiritually. You have high-level Freemasonic gatekeepers and watchers. Sigils involving ancient planetary intelligences tied to false wisdom currents, like Sophia and Baphomet. It requires Yeshua blood-authenticated scrolls to penetrate without spiritual backlash. It's market value. If you want to take a guess, you can pause it right now. Or if not, and you just want to know. With the gold, the precious metals estimated between 300 and 500 metric tons. Valued between 25 and 40 billion US dollars. The relics and artifacts are invaluable due to dimensional tech, such as the scroll fragments, possibly from the Book of Enoch, components of pre-Adamic frequency weapons, and DNA templates and ancient kingly bloodline codices. Now, its true value, however, it's not monetary, it's tied to end-time throne claims, Jerusalem counterfeit rulership, as well as a false Melchizedek priesthood system being readied for worldwide domination. So what would be kingdom alignment protocols? For us, we need to issue a kingdom scroll decree, canceling all counterfeit covenants attached to Templar relics, and releasing the stolen frequencies and blueprints back to Yeshua's governing body. We also need to spiritually seal key vortexes, especially René-le Chateau and Vatican vaults, until redeemed stewards rise and assign angelic protection via legitimate heavenly courts of record. Then we need to reclaim the thrones hidden in the gold. Templar wealth was encoded with kingship rights. Reversed the counterfeit divine right claim of false rulers by anchoring Isaiah 22:22 over each vault. And then restore the land scrolls of Occitania. The Cathar bloodline regions of southern France must be spiritually reharmonized to remove the bloodstains of genocide. This land must submit to the Lamb, not the counterfeit lion. Now this next one isn't really talked about as much, but it's very important because it's seen as the eighth wonder of the world. It's known as the Amber Room. So, really to talk about this one, it was a breathtaking chamber made of amber panels, gold leaf, and mirrors, originally crafted in Prussia, later gifted to Peter the Great of Russia. Literally. And during World War II, the Nazis looted the room and moved it to Königsberg Castle, which is modern-day Kaliningrad, after which it mysteriously vanished in 1945. Beyond its physical beauty, the room was believed to encode frequencies of sovereign light and dominion, which is why occult factions coveted it. It's not just a treasure. It's a frequency vault holding pieces of divine kingship, harmony code, counterfeited and used to power European dominion networks. Now, there's 3 locations we can see where this is at. Deep underground in Poland, such as Owl Mountains Complex, Project Reese. Now, this is believed to be stored in a sealed Nazi bunker, still not fully mapped. Entrances heavily cloaked and sealed by ritualistic gridlocks set during Nazi SS spiritual operations. Kaliningrad underground chambers, a lesser-known section beneath the ruins of Königsberg Castle, preserved in classified Russian military archives, as it was used as a vault site for spiritual resonance objects meant to bind Eastern Europe. There's also a Vatican sub-vault, fragmented panels. Pieces may have been extracted and integrated into ceremonial chambers used in esoteric rituals. Some parts rumored to have been gifted to elite black nobility families aligned with Saturnian control systems. So then what kind of security are we looking at for something like this, so coveted? Well, physically, Russian military intelligence may patrol Kaliningrad sites, such as FSB tiers, with buried landmines and anti-intrusion tech. Project Reese bunkers are monitored by private security firms under archaeology facades. And several entrances require precise geometric and temporal alignment to unlock. Spiritually, guarded by false guardian spirits tied to Aryan supremacy and Black Sun doctrines, Amber acts as a conductor of light codes, but these are currently perverted into dark frequency matrices. So, must neutralize Saturnian encoding over the amber itself to repurpose it. Now, what market value does this physically have? Even with reconstruction, market estimates make it anywhere from 500 million to 1.2 billion for one room. That's due to the loss of original Baltic amber and historical irreplaceability. Spiritually, it holds kingship harmonic resonant codes from pre-division Europe, linked to a false unity grid. Now, reclaiming and sanctifying this room would dismantle certain bloodline legitimacy claims in Germany and Russia, break ties between artificial divine right systems and the Saturnian black grid, and restore amber as a heavenly conductor, not a binding agent of false dominion. We also want to take a look at our kingdom alignment protocol for something like this. Well, we got to issue a scroll of severance. Cut all energetic and bloodline contracts attached to the amber room frequencies. Sever ties between the room and the counterfeit Solomonic authority structure. Deploy a kingdom resonance override is the second objective, where we send purified sound through amber frequency matrices to collapse the black resonance grid, and using Psalm 24 and Revelation 21 light codes to retune the amber's purpose to Yeshua's kingdom. Third point is to seal and redeem the sites, or site, depending on if it's still spread out. Doing this is spiritually assign archangelic guardians over Kaliningrad and Project Reese locations until divine release, and then declare the land no longer usable by Saturnian systems or the Beast Network. So then, invoke, as the fourth point, Thrones Reversal Act, where we revoke counterfeit thrones empowered through these objects and assign their dominion to the righteous kings emerging in the North Gate alignment. Next, we have what's called the San Miguel ship. This is something many people today even still are trying to go after. So for the San Miguel ship, of course, just to give some of you backstory for this one, the 1715 Spanish treasure fleet, with the San Miguel being one of the crown galleons carrying treasure from the New World to the Spanish Empire. Resources were extracted through colonial exploitation, often tied to blood covenants, false dominion, and generational debt. For a spiritual profile, we have assigned to Mammon dominion, originally governed under a spirit of imperial greed, conquest, and counterfeit divine right. Now, under suspended judgments, the treasure lies beneath judgment waters, locked in the deep until a righteous scroll unseals it. So what guards this massive ship? Well, often perceived in dreams or visions as leviathanic forces or marine sentinels, custodian forces aren't just spirits, but also time-bound watchers ensuring ancient covenants remain sealed until a lawful override is presented. From kingdom counter moves, those who attempt to retrieve this type of treasure without scroll alignment or bloodline repentance often face delay, misfortune, or even destruction because they're trespassing spiritual thresholds. Now, the ley line convergence is that the wreck site is believed to rest in an area where maritime ley lines intersect with ancient indigenous bloodlines and colonial maritime rights. That's RITES. This zone acts as a sea gate with strategic prophetic relevance. So, what do us, kingdom ambassadors, have as protocols for reclamation? Alright. Well, we have scroll-based intercession, which requires lawful standing in Shemaim's courts to petition release, repentance over Spanish Catholic, and indigenous bloodline misalignment. Not Spanish Catholic, but Spanish, Catholic, and indigenous, so three separate. And release of an apostolic prophetic decree over the waters that unlocks across without invoking warfare-based interference. The only way warfare would be involved is if Kingdom of Darkness is, encroaching. But its estimated value is upward of $2 billion in gold, silver, and precious stones. Symbolically, it's very strategic resource node for building cities of refuge or supply bases. Next, we have what's known as the Fabergé golden eggs that were created between 1885 and 1917 by Peter Carl Fabergé for the Russian Tsars Alexander III and Nicholas II as Easter gifts. Now, these weren't merely ornate treasures, they were encoded artifacts, often infused with esoteric symbolism representing dynastic continuity, divine right, and resurrection power, which is distorted through imperial lenses. Now, The root gate, House of Romanov. That bloodline is tied to both Orthodox Christianity and occultic imperial rites. Again, R-I-T-E-S. With a spiritual encoding, it's hidden within each egg a story, a symbol, or a mechanism. Many serve as prophetic time capsules. They hold imperial seals that some believe are linked to bloodline rites. Resurrection protocols, which are counterfeit, obviously, or control over ancient ley lines. Now, what kind of security are we dealing with here? Well, being that there are 50 imperial eggs that were created, 43 known to survive, 7 that are missing. Well, the ones that are in museums, like the Kremlin Armory, Fabergé Museum in St. Petersburg, Virginia Museum of Fine Arts. There's also in private billionaire vaults or state-secured treasuries. It's got a level 4 to 5 protocol security, including laser motion detection, AI surveillance, reinforced vaulting, diplomatic immunity zones, and elite private guards. Spiritually, you got cherubim, mimicry. That's present. These are fallen watchers attached to the Romanov destiny that still watch over these, especially the missing 7. Now, they are gatekeepers of counterfeit resurrection power. Think of them as reverse Edenic time seals, distorted echoes of access denied protocols in Shemaim. Several Fabergé eggs are believed to be living ley seals, binding specific territories of old Russia, Europe, and select diaspora zones like Switzerland, Paris, London, New York. The 7 missing eggs are likely still spiritually active, kept in high-ranking occultist or royal bloodline hands, possibly connected to Masonic rites or European black nobility. Individually, these eggs are valued anywhere from $20 to $50 million, depending on origin, materials, and secrets. The total set is $1.5 billion plus. Now, adding in the 7 missing eggs, spiritual plus monetary, potentially another 500 million to 1 billion, depending on hidden mechanisms on relics encoded. So what can we do as Kingdom Ambassadors use as a blueprint for alignment? Well, fifth assigned to your scroll, repent on behalf of Russian imperial bloodlines, esoteric resurrection rites, and false enthronements. Request Shemaim's courts the scroll to override imperial resurrection codes and reassign authority to the 70 kings. My 70 kings. I was doing some research on some stuff from my assignment now to bring into you all what 70 kings is about. I have a scroll, an assignment to raise, train, and lead 70 kings that will literally rule and reign on our planet. They are going to be like kingdom outposts. Why? Because the majority of people today do not know how to live in a true kingdom, like the kingdom of God. Some people claim that they know how to live as a king and a priest. Sorry, but unless you're at the minimum of being a billionaire, you do not know what it's like to be a king. Do not say you know what it's like to be a king. Authority is one thing, but you need resources on a massive level to be able to shape things. So, it's very difficult for me to believe when people say they've been a king and a priest. Yeah, okay. Unless you are a billionaire level, no, you don't know what it's like to be a king. But that's okay. I let people believe what they want to believe. However, another step is we want to declare a binding and sealing of counterfeit cherubic seals, commanding the true living stones to arise instead. And of course, we also, if assigned, We want to release a decree activating hidden righteous Fabergé holders to come forward with intel for kingdom use. We're getting there, though, to the very end of this episode. However, we're going to be talking about the Fleur de la Mar treasure, which is also known as Flower of the Sea, which was a ship from the Portuguese Empire that sank in 1511 off the coast of Sumatra, carrying spoils from the conquest of the Sultanate of Malacca. And it was carrying gold, gemstones, tribute from Malaccan sultans. There was religious and royal artifacts meant to establish Portuguese dominion as a divine empire. Its estimated weight was 60 tons of treasure. It's a lot. But it was considered the largest treasure ever lost at sea. So, 60 tons of treasure, you know. And if it's used for occult purposes, God's going to be like, not today. So, Portugal's imperial priesthood merged with Vatican maritime commissions. The treasure wasn't just wealth. It was a consecration offering to establish maritime empire of the beast, blending church, commerce, and kingship. False Trinity expression. Its fall into the sea mimicked a Luciferian throne cast down. Current location, general area, Malacca Strait, northeast of Sumatra. Near, I believe it's pronounced Aceh, A-C-E-H, and Banda Aceh, a spiritually charged maritime gate. Believed to be in treacherous waters, shifting seabed, coral burial, and deep sediment layers, possibly 60 to 100 feet beneath the sea level. Now, several false leads and fakes have been publicly used to ritually distract or gate off the true vaults from kingdom reclamation. So what kind of security are we dealing with here that protects 60 tons of treasure? Well, for human level, Indonesian naval watchers, often unknowingly stationed in key triangle zones. Private contractors and sovereign-backed recovery projects quietly surveil the area via satellite, as well as unacknowledged military access detail zones that have been placed. Spiritually, what kind of guardianship is there? Well, we got hybrid sea spirits tied to Leviathan, known in local lore as, I believe it's pronounced Penungu, Lot, which is guardians of the sea. Penungu is Penunggu. Second word, Lot, L-A-U-T. We also have fallen watcher remnants that serve as maritime gatekeepers of Babylonian wealth. There's also a curse of spiritual dismemberment, where any illegitimate seeker attempting recovery without divine permission faces family lines of chaos, confusion, and insanity. Estimated value today, between 3 billion and 7 billion. Spiritual value is a gate key to dissolve maritime thrones of Mammon. It carries influence over Southeast Asia's economic strongholds and water trade dominions, as well as false kingdom scrolls stored within it could be extracted or nullified through rightful decree. Now, what would be a kingdom ambassador's protocol? Well, to prepare and position yourself for something like this, you need to repent on behalf of Portugal's and the Vatican's imperial covenant with Mammon and forced conversions. There's a lot more work to do with that. But for that specifically, we're just going to leave it there. You want to cleanse from false apostolic mandates tied to wealth plunder. Fast and approach Shemaim's courts with humility and boldness. When you're activating this decree, you want to petition for the authority to unseal and redeem the Fleur de Lamar vault for kingdom resources, and declare the Leviathanic spirit over that region judged, and the rightful wealth of the nations returned to Zion's storehouse. And of course, territorial gate reclamation, you want to send word, prophetic or intercessory teams, to the Strait of Malacca for ley line restoration, and declare Psalm 24. Now this next one is something I know some of you have probably wanted to find out more about. And that is going to be King John's treasure. So, when we are taking a look at King John's treasure, who of course reigned from 1199 to 1216, the loss occurred in 1216, October 1216. Interesting. Last year of his reign, he loses such a treasure. And this is because King John crossed the Wash, a tidal estuary, in eastern England, fleeing civil war during the First Barons' War, and recent signing of the Magna Carta, which he later renounced. So what was being carried was royal regalia like crowns, scepters, orbs, ancient coinage, some possibly dating to Arthurian and pre-Roman periods, Templar-linked artifacts, documents, scrolls, and covenant seals. This wasn't merely treasure. It was a mobile throne room of imperial and occult authority, carried to maintain spiritual domination. Now, this tied to Rome's extension into British thrones, cloaked in feudal Christianity. King John's secret oaths to the Pope made England a vassal state, documented in 1213, giving Vatican control over Britain's spiritual gates. The treasure's disappearance symbolized a dismantling of false enthronement, and sealed a gate of dominion awaiting future alignment. Magna Carta wasn't only a legal shift, it was a dimensional fracture in false divine kingship and early globalism. So, where would this treasure be? Well, it's in the Wash, Lincolnshire, Norfolk border region in the UK, likely submerged under Sutton Bridge to Walpole Marsh's axis, estimated about 8 to 20 feet beneath sediment and tidal sands, with estuarian I'm sorry if I'm butchering some of these names. Estuarian quicksand layers. Much of the ground there is spiritually sealed and resists traditional excavation, because modern scans and expeditions avoid the exact gate zone due to invisible blockages and anomalous equipment interference. So then what is going to be protecting it? Well, for human level security, we have the royal family historical archives hold coded maps and references, believed compartmentalized within MI5 and MI6. We have occasional Crown-sponsored geological surveys are misdirected publicly. And we have hidden custodianship likely assigned to a private lineage entrusted with ancient Templar rites. That's R-I-T-E-S. Spiritually, there is a false covenant thrones buried with the treasure that are actively defended. There's also Nephilim-class watchers assigned to British Isles. Ley line grid remain tethered. And certain ritual monarchs, including some within the Windsor structure, receive inheritance codes from this sealed vault to maintain their legitimacy. Estimated market value, conservatively, it's between 1.2 billion and 2.8 billion. It is based on the gold, artifacts, and regalia alone. Strategic value is priceless if the documents and covenant seals are intact. These predate Magna Carta and possibly reference Solemnic or Babylonian imperial blueprints. Spiritually is valued with the contains of scrolls of false enthronements, embedded frequency patterns from ancient kingship rituals, and holds gate keys to reverse the British Empire's stronghold, especially over maritime law and land claims worldwide. So what, as kingdom priests and ambassadors, would have as a protocol for this kind of assignment? In preparation, you need to break agreement with the false apostolic succession of Rome into England. Ask Shemaim to review the scrolls of enthronement tied to King John's bloodline. Yeah. Repent on behalf of all alliances with spiritual Rome, feudal slavery, and the rejection of kingship. Now, when you decree and activate, you need to release the land, which is the wash, from entanglement with ancient dominion rites, which is R-I-T-E-S. Commission angelic hosts to retrieve righteous scrolls from the submerged vault. Petition for the transfer of legacy stewardship from fallen thrones to kingdom-aligned heirs. Now, practical way you can do something like this: go to a coastal or river gate if you're unable to access the wash, and perform an act of scroll restoration. And declare over the hidden gate Isaiah 61 verse 4 and Romans 8 verse 21. And then, of course, we have the Holy Grail of all Holy Grails. It is the Holy Grail. And there's one more after this. Well, the Holy Grail, most famously a cup. The vessel has been associated with the Last Supper, possibly used to catch Yeshua's blood at the crucifixion. From the Black Book lens, the Holy Grail isn't just an artifact, but a dimensional convergence point, a container of divine DNA, legacy, and scrolls. It represents eternal kingship, unbroken covenants, and the feminine counterpart of divine governance. I got a chip in my nail. Just kidding. No, I don't. What guards the Holy Grail would be often connected to Melchizedek order protocols, hidden king priests, or redeemed lineages. It's not guarded like a relic, but shielded by purity, assignment, and access codes in the heavenly realms. And that's in the spiritual. On our planet, historically it's tied to Templars, certain Marian bloodlines, and secret ecclesiastical orders. However, true access isn't through blood, but alignment with Yeshua's DNA through spiritual maturity. It's hidden in a realm known in some traditions as the Vault of Eternal Scrolls. Accessed only through divine timing, scroll activation, purity of motive, and integration into a Revelation 19, chapter 19 through chapter 22 trajectory. Some earthly anchors would be Montesquieu from France, Glastonbury from the UK, Oak Island in Canada, and some believe near Mount Zion in Jerusalem. You can't really put a price on something like this because spiritually it's incalculable. It isn't a physical wealth item. It's a source code artifact. It's a spiritual technology. It's tied to restoration of kingship, healing of the nations, divine inheritance, and immortal governance. These worldly systems have attempted to assign value or seek it as a power object, but it refuses to operate in fallen economies. Now, interaction with the enemy. Hitler's pursuit was tied to the counterfeit kingship agenda, attempting to hijack the Grail's covenantal authority for the Fourth Reich. Their failure stemmed from a misunderstanding. The Grail doesn't yield conquest, only surrender to Yeshua's dominion. Now you got the Hollywood as a controlled narrative where the film's timing in 1989, Indiana Jones and the Lost Crusade, it wasn't accidental. It coincided with rising worldwide shifts in consciousness and the Cold War's endgame. It symbolically transferred the quest for eternal power from military powers to secret knowledge keepers. Hollywood is often used by hidden orders to precede public perception or encode false protocols. Now, real Grail themes that have been hidden in fiction, we have the trials of the Grail Temple, like in Indiana Jones, the Last Crusade. Where you have the three tests: the breath of God, word of God, path of God. Reflects legitimate access protocols to sacred objects or realms. Humility, revelation, and scroll alignment are real prerequisites to enter Grail level authority. These aren't physical tests, but spiritual seals. And there's also that the final choice where it's like, you must choose wisely. Because Grail guardianship is about discernment of true kingship. The false Grails in the movie mimic the shiny distraction of political, religious, or technological power. The true Grail is simple, humble, unassuming, just like Yeshua. Now, the Nazi obsession here, real history, was that they did in fact search for the Holy Grail, along with the Ark, Spear of Destiny, and other ancient artifacts. They used occult means and the Anonarby, I believe that's how you pronounce it, Anonarby division, to attempt recovery for use in the Fourth Reich. The movie sanitized this pursuit, but kept the core truth intact. They saw these artifacts as keys to worldwide dominion. You also have the Knight in the Grail Chamber. The figure, it's not random, it reflects the immortal guardian motive tied to Melchizedekian watchers or time-locked scroll holders. The fact that, he can't lease his post mirrors spiritual restrictions placed on certain guardians until divine timing or authorized retrieval. Now, there is death through wrong use because those who choose the wrong Grail in, like the movie, were destroyed, symbolizing the truth that unholy use of holy things results in judgment. So this is a core kingdom principle. You You can't access the Grail or its realm without purity, commissioning, and scroll congruence. So, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade wasn't really just fictional. It was a strategic veil over deep truths, revealing hidden pursuits by elite orders, wars, albeit indirectly, of wrong access, as well as foreshadowing a time when the true Grail alignment returns, not as an object, but through a people who become living Grails, vessels of Yeshua's eternal covenant. And we have last, but surely not least, the Lost Dutchman's gold mine in Superstition Mountains, Arizona. This region overlays ancient indigenous ley lines connected to portal mechanics and sacred guardianship from long before U.S. colonialization. It's heavily cloaked, both naturally and energetically, making the mine difficult to locate. From a Black Book insight, the region acts as a dimensional veil intersection, a place where time, memory, and resource gateways overlap and encrypt stewardship under spiritual principles of concealment. So what's protecting it? Because anybody who 100% goes to search for it, they never come back. So it's not merely a physical force, according to some encoded testimonies and spiritual discernment. There's dimensional guardians, likely watchers or seraphic sentinels, tied to First Nations covenants. There's possibly unaware military or private defense actors operating nearby, guarding access due to classified mineral rights or unexplained magnetic anomalies. And entry is denied unless there's scroll alignment, repentant ancestry, and territorial reconciliation are established, which mirrors access rules of Melchizedek level inheritances. The market value, even though legends speak of tons of raw gold, and its actual worth is secondary to its spiritual value. So, gold as a covenantal memory has some hidden gold sites aren't for extraction, but for activation, meant to confirm the kingdom's timeline and the scrolls of inheritance. Estimated financial value, it's speculated. Potentially in the $200 million to $500 million range if raw stores exist. But accessing it in a carnal or commercial spirit would trigger spiritual backlash. The purpose in a kingdom timeline. The Lost Dutchman's mine isn't a prize, but a test. It's a veil point that asks, will you dig with greed or wait for inheritance? In the right hands, it could function as a witness altar, acknowledging the restoration of the land. A provision center to catalyze prophetic projects, aligned with scriptures, storehouse, protocol. And a reset point for regional governance by kingship scrolls tied to American soil. And that, everyone, concludes episode 5 of season 6. Oh yes, we have been on a roll. And even though I did the first 3 on Spotify, I mean it was technically Spotify for creators, it was time to get that equipment upgraded. So that's what I did. I upgraded the equipment, And now we are here. I was going to be putting on my Beehive website, but they don't allow videos. So here I am with YouTube. That's here for the time being. The next time we are back on here, we're going to talk about the Roman dodecahedron and what it was used for. There's also a symbol I came across, the Sigillum Dei. And I was wondering if it's the mark of the beast. That would it be placed upon people? I also, in this next episode, am asking the question, is the abomination of desolation the son of perdition marrying people to himself, like Yeshua and the bride becoming one when time has ended? What's under the Father Francisco Kino statue, aka Eusebio Kino, who was a Jesuit, in Phoenix, Arizona? Which bloodlines and evil groups are the Moors connected with? Light sabers. Oh yeah, I had to know. Hollywood as occult gatekeepers. There will be some gruesome disclosure involved. And then we're going to talk about some of my childhood in this one. But until next time, everybody, I will catch you all then. Peace.